Hi, I'm Robert Gibson.
I'm Ricky Morton.
We're the Rock and Roll Express.
And you're watching WGS-TV.
Hello everyone, welcome to another installment of WGS-TV right here on YouTube.com/WrestleGamer and ZFX-TV. I'm the WrestleGamer, Double B from the Goodrow. This is going to be the Impact Wrestling review for the week of September 3rd, 2014. Opening up Impact Wrestling this week with MVP and company coming out to kind of boast of the fact that MVP and them were like on top, and they also started talking about how Lashley is going to be in his first Bellator match next week. Playing up to the hype that he was going to be not only the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, but the Bellator Heavyweight Champion, calling himself the toughest man on the planet. Samoa Joe comes out and says, you know what, I'm going to dispute that and challenge you to a matchup. Let's put the championships to the side, and we're going to have a fight to see who's really the toughest. And then, with all typical heel factions in wrestling, of course, they're going to have to beat down the face. And the face in this case is Samoa Joe. And that's exactly the way they played it out. But what a way to open up the start of Impact Wrestling. The opening match, the Knockouts Championship on the line. Gail, and Terrell. These two just have such a great chemistry together. Whenever you see them in the ring, they just have an amazing amount of chemistry with each other. They put off some amazing spots, including the net breaker spot off the steel steps. I mean, how many WWE divas do you think are going to even attempt to do something like that? I think none. But anyway, it was an amazing match. It did not disappoint. Terrell went for a crossbody off the top. Gail rolled through it to pin her, retains the championship, and then we have the debut of Jennifer Havok, aka Havok. She's like a big. Well, I don't want to say it like that, like she's huge, but she's a very built type of woman's wrestler. And one of the things I did describe her on the Facebook page is kind of almost like a female abyss. I don't know if that would be the proper terminology to use for it, but that's the way it kind of looks. So we did get the debut of Havok. She did just that, wreak havoc on Gail and Terrell. So that really didn't pan out very well. But I got to say, wonderful matchup between the two with Kim and Terrell for the Knockouts Championship. Next, EC3 was out there to boast about what he did to Rhino last week. With that beatdown with the chairs, and that prompted the former champion, ECW champion, to come out. He challenges EC3 to a match and said, you know what, challenge accepted, except I'm not going to be the one face you. It's going to be Rockstar Spud. Whew. Well, I'll voice more about my opinion about what the gimmick when I get to that point in the review. Backstage, I got the smoking hot blondes checking out Samuel Shaw backstage. Shaw still feeling a little beat up about having to quit last week against Mr. Anderson. Gunner tries to cheer him up, and then we do get the announcement that they're in a tag match against Magnus and Bram. The finish of the match came down to Gunner leaping off the top rope, jamming his knee up a little bit. Bram hit him with a chop block, which would be 15-yard penalty in the NFL, which kind of starts tonight. But in wrestling, it's good, and he gets a quick roll-up for the pin. Sammy Shaw, once again, upset with himself over making a mistake like that. But up next, I'm not sure, you got two big main event matches, if you think about it. We had the number one contenders match, which was up next, with Eric Young and Bobby Roode. You figure, that's your number one contenders match, why isn't it the main event? But yet the champion featured in the main event, even though it's not a championship match. Bobby Roode and Eric Young, I gotta say, very, very decent match. They did not disappoint, but I kind of figured they would go in favor of Roode. EY already just had a run with the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, and I figured, since they just turned Roode face, so it's a fresh face turn, and they won't kind of give him a push and have him run towards your heel champion. So it would kind of make a little bit of sense to have that. But I gotta say, I'm not disappointed with the match. I'm not disappointed with the match. I was thoroughly entertained, and they did a good job. Okay, now the Bromance have been doing this competitive dating thing segment for over a week now to see who can get the hotter date. At one point the segment was getting incredibly ridiculous, in my opinion. But until we find out who the dates are, Velvet Sky and Angelina Love. And I would probably call that dead tie, in my opinion, for the Bromance. Up next, it was the X Division Championship #1 contenders match. Crazy Steve, DJZ, Tigre Uno, Manic, Loki, and Homicide. And my initial thought was, the Great Sonata was heavily involved in the X Division Championship, especially with his initial run in TNA. Why is he not being involved in this matchup? Well, it happens later on. But the way the matchup played out, Homicide hit the Gringo Killer on Manic to pick up the win. And while Manic was down, then the Great Sonata and James Storm come out. Sonata kicks him right in the face. And then he and Storm kind of drag him out there, kind of leading everyone to believe that Manic is going to be the next member of James Storm's cult. But that wouldn't be it that wouldn't be the end of the night for Storm and the Great Sonata, as Austin Aries then came out, called out both of them over what happened last week. And then you said, you know what, the Great Sonata, you a marked man, and the guy got back there, he's out to get you. And it turned out to be in the form of the Japanese buzzsaw Tajiri, who still looked to be in really good shape, in my opinion. The TNA did kind of spoil it, but then again, you have to kind of understand why they did it like that, to bolster their ticket sales, and Tajiri is still a big name in the wrestling industry over everything that he's accomplished in his career. So I'm not really surprised to see that. So it was, I thought it was a good addition, and I really want to see how they pan this out between Storm, Sonata, Austin Aries, and Tajiri. We get the story of Chris Melendez, especially the big announcement that on next week's Impact Wrestling he's going to be making his debut at the onset of the show. And now, one thing I did not know about Melendez is that he's a one-legged wrestler. And the last time we kind of had a one-legged wrestler, it was Zach Gowen. Now, Gowen wasn't a bad wrestler per se. I've heard some really disparaging comments about what he's like backstage. I'm not going to comment on that because I've never met the guy. I've never worked with him. He's never taken any bookings in Louisiana as far as I know. But I'm just saying that I've heard a lot of disparaging remarks. Now, from the clips that I saw last night, Melendez seems to be like he's got a good rhythm down. He looks like he's got, he looks to be in good physical condition. So I'm really going to hold off on anything I have to say until I actually see him work some matches. Before I decide to register a judgment on whether or not I think Melendez should still be in the industry. So that's my only comments with regards to that. Up next, it was Rockstar Spud taking on Rhino. This was just basically Spud getting a beat down until at one point in the match, Spud pulled out a trash can and was going to use it on the former ECW champion until Rhino just pretty much gored him out of his shoes and and picks up the victory, and then EC3 turns his back on Rockstar Spud. So they're kind of killing the gimmick in a sense. We first get they're bringing together EC3, Rockstar Spud, and Rhino, and then Dixie Carter goes through a table, and now they're kind of breaking them apart. They're separating EC3 from both Spud and Rhino. So possibly look for Spud maybe as a face turn next week on Impact Wrestling. I would not be shocked, to be honest. And then finally we had Bobby Lashley and Samoa Joe to find out who's really tougher. Now, for a great show, the main event kind of left me feeling, that it was a little bit lackluster. That the main event could have gone a little bit better. It was kind of expected to see the interference by Kenny King. The distraction by him, which led to Lashley spearing Joe to pick up the win. But for such a great show throughout the evening, the main event kind of left something to be desired, in my opinion. It's not saying that the main event was bad, but it could have been better, in my opinion. It just really, for a 4-star show, it kind of felt like it was a 3-star main event, in my opinion. It could have gone a lot better, but it did not. But anyway, for my overall score on Impact Wrestling this week, just like I said, overall, it was like a 4-star quality type of show with a 3-star main event finish. It really didn't pan out too well for the finish, but, I'm not going to fault TNA too much for that. So, as you kind of hear a doorbell here, well, what I want to, it's probably someone who agrees with me right there. Overall, best match of the night, I'm going to give it to Gail Kim and Terrell. The knockouts by far exceeding my expectations of the WWE Divas. The debut of Havok was indeed interesting. So it's going to be very interesting to see, where they take this from here. Just how exactly they're going to use Havok in TNA. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where they go next from there. Worst match of the night? Still worst segment. I'm gonna go worst segment as the bromance dating segment thing. I think it's just incredibly ridiculous. They're making them almost the bromance look like clowns. If I want to look at clowns, I'll look at Crazy Steve, to be honest. But that's the kind of way they kind of panned out. So I got to go to that because I thought it was ridiculous what they're doing right there. So, again, my overall score on Impact Wrestling this week is a 3.5 out of 5. So, what I want to know now from you guys out there, the viewers and subscribers, your thoughts on Impact Wrestling this week. What are your overall scores? What are your picks for best and worst match or segment of Impact Wrestling this week? I definitely want to know what you guys have to say. Be sure you put your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and favorite this video. Don't forget to follow me on the Facebook page, facebook.com/WGS-TV, and don't forget to please subscribe to youtube.com/WrestleGamer and youtube.com/ZFXTV Network if you haven't already. So with that being said, I'm the WrestleGamer, Double B Play Bucho, saying thank you very much for watching.